Hello, everybody. This is Ted Turner. We're here today to talk about network tips to ensure you have a successful AWS migration. We look forward to sharing with you what some of those infrastructure items you can look at and understand your network, and how you can get out into AWS and know that you'll have a successful implementation. So once you get out into the cloud, you've always got questions about the cloud. What are my egress costs going to be? Is the transit gateway the problem? Why can't these two instances talk to each other? Is there traffic hairpinning? That traffic hairpinning, we were just onboarding a customer, not even a paying customer, just a trial. And they looked at their traffic and they were in the cloud. So they had migrated from the data center out to the cloud. They had traffic going from the cloud across the public internet and back into the cloud, and they didn't anticipate that flow of traffic. And so before they even bought the product with Kentik, they were able to see what was going on in the cloud and fix things, share with their development team. But there's a ton of questions that come up. You know, can I control my data transfer costs? Well, when you can see what's going on, when you have network observability, yes, you can. We had a poll. We wanted to ask a question. What part of the budget is networking for your AWS deployments? Now, we're thinking at Kentik that it's never going to be more than 20%. And if there's any of you team members out there where the AWS networking costs are more than 20%, we'd love to talk to you, because the insights that we can help provide are tremendous. We're talking with one of our customers right now, and 5% of their networking cost, 5% of their overall AWS costs are intra-AZ. So you're talking from availability zone to availability zone. You're not going from region to region, just AZ to AZ, and that is consuming 5% of their AWS budget. And so they want to see who's talking. And so these are the types of questions that come up. And so we want to know from you guys, what are you seeing in cost as you're going and doing these AWS deployments, or what are your projections on what those costs could be? Jim, are you seeing any questions pop up in the?
No, not yet. Feel free to enter questions. There should be a sidebar with the questions link.
Got it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. At large, what does good network observability look like? This is the perspective of Kentik, and when you have good network observability, you're able to go grab all of the information. So any of your corporate space, any of your edge, your public internet, the cloud, so specifically AWS here in this context, all of your SD-WAN, internet containers, go grab it all. Grab the flows, grab any streaming telemetry, the host data, SNMP data, tie all these things together, start adding additional visibility, geography, routing, application specific, all of your identity, the business context, add those things in, any threats. So add in all of that metadata on top of all of that, bring them all together, put them into something that is a software as a service. Make sure it's scalable. And then get into the dashboards, the alerts. When something goes wrong, can you see it? Do you have a method of showing what is going on in your environment right now? When something has gone awry, pop up an alert and give those insights to, right now, the network engineers, but it's easiest if you can do like our customer who is doing that hairpinning, take those insights and share them with your development team and make the data available so that the dev teams, the DevOps teams, the SREs can make a small change early on, correct things, reducing your cost, keeping your latencies low, and making everything better for your customers or your staff. And then once you have those insights and alerts, you want to go in, you want to figure out what's going on. Drilling in, querying, filtering things out, focusing on one particular site, one particular availability zone, one particular region, zooming in, mapping these things out, and then tying it together. getting the messaging out there, being able to send an email or a JSON notification, send it to a webhook, connect it to your workflows and your organization, and potentially putting it into a service ticket, tying it together with ServiceNow. Kentik, that's what we do. We do the core. We do synthetics, helping understand what's going on, testing, and so not just relying on all of those metrics, the cloud, the edge, and tying those things together so you can protect. So in this presentation, we're looking at the Kentik Cloud Solutions. It's a migration from your data center is what we're assuming right now, and getting into the cloud, into AWS. We've seen some migrations go very quickly. We have a quick poll here real quick that we want to talk through. I'm going to start this poll. How long do you think a migration should take? And so when the migration, where I came from, it was close to 7 years. But Netflix, their professed migration time was 5 years. We're dealing with a banking client, and they did theirs in 12 weeks. They're running AWS. They were able to use tools to extend their network out to the cloud, and they did a batch at a time, one batch per week, and they did it over 12 weeks, and they were running everything in the cloud using the tools available to them, running their data center and the cloud together with tools that they shared across both, and running all of their facilities in AWS. They're one of the first banks, I believe, that are out there running all of their platform on AWS. Jim, have you heard timelines? What have you run into? What have we seen with our customer footprint?
Yeah, it really varies a lot depending on how many applications there are, what their skill set is, what their staffing is for everything, and how comfortable they are understanding what they've got existing and how they're moving and what kind of data they can get about each of those moves. So a lot of people will try a trial application. It could be a dummy application, or it could be a little used or internal application to test out first. And so then after that, the scale just leads from that.
And so with Kentik, we give you some pretty good insights, some use cases. And so one of the things that our network engineers like, and they are able to take this mapping that we have and share it with their dev team, share it with their SRE teams, and help identify, hey, this is where the traffic is going. It's in this particular VPC, it's in this particular AWS account, and it's going over a direct connect back to the data center, it's going over a direct connect back to a campus, or maybe it's going over a VPN. So that visualization helps your network engineers identify what's going on, where the traffic's going, and so if there are technical difficulties, if there are constraints, they can start to focus on the area and get things remediated. Jim, I think there were some insights here.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the screenshot on the right there, you'll see a few interesting things. There's the on-prem section in the top left. So this is where we take your existing infrastructure, your on-prem data center, offices, whatever, and we show how the connections go through either a VPN or a direct connect into AWS. We can show the transit gateways, internet gateways, and so on in each region. So you see in this example, we've got 5 VPCs in US West 1. We can show how they're connected together, what VPCs are there, what subnets within each VPC, how they're connected together. And there's a visual going on in this one where we selected, show me where the traffic is flowing from this particular subnet 10.10.5.0. And so we'll show graphically where that traffic is going. And there's also visualizations for if you want to check the path to a particular destination. So you can do that as well. Instead of all of the traffic, you can see how you would get to another location, either in the cloud or outside. Down at the bottom, you'll see that there's another region here, US East 1, and this one has 174 VPCs. So that's a lot to show visually. So we give you a kind of a heat map here, and you can drill into one of them if you like, or if you expand, you can get the big picture, just like we do for US West 1. So this is something that people have been asking for a long time, to be able to visualize how everything's connected and what the traffic is on all of these different pieces of your cloud environment.
And this seems to be the first thing that all of our customers are looking for, is being able to identify what that traffic flow looks like and helping understand, is it going across a direct connect or a VPN or the public internet, so that they can start to focus whatever their objective is, whether it's a DevOps objective of moving the traffic and the applications or the customers, or a back-end infrastructure type of initiative of perhaps expanding the direct connect footprint from a 1 gig link to a 10 gig link. But you can actually see those traffic flows quickly and easily.
Yeah, and any of the connections that we're showing here, if you click on them, you can investigate the traffic on that connection between those two subnets or VPCs or that internet gateway or that direct connect.
So once you're able to visualize what's going on, most teams, the next question that comes up, what does performance look like? What is the standard? How many milliseconds does it take to get from A to B? What does my campus look like to get to my cloud resources? What does my data center look like? What does my customer traffic look like getting into my AWS resources? And so you can build these tables. We've got synthetics. We have some synthetic agents that you can borrow from us and utilize the Kentik resources to test against your publicly available sites, anything that you have built on-prem for your organizations. And then you can also do the test to your new AWS endpoints. And you can start to understand, this is what traffic is going to look like from, say, a north-south customer perspective going across the public internet into your newly created resources. But you can compare and contrast that to what's going on in AWS today versus what you had going on in your on-prem or what you had built previously. So things that we do here, we tend to pull out packet loss, latency, and jitter, and those things negatively impact all of your applications. So if you start to tie these things together with any of your APM tools, any of the New Relics, the Dynatraces of the world, it really provides powerful visualization to help understand whether your customers and your staff members are going to get a good perspective. Jim, I was just thinking, the backbone provider, we just had one of the backbone providers build a table just like this, and they're sharing all of their locations on a public page available. And what were you thinking on this portion of the presentation?
So that was a global internet service provider, and they wanted to make their performance data available kind of to show off. So they have a public page that uses this data to show connectivity, the performance between each site, and make that available to everybody for their customers or for potential customers that want to see that their network is performing well. And all of what you're seeing here, you can drill into these and investigate the timeline of what's happening. You can see what the path is between the source and the destination that you're testing. And there's lots of different types of tests. It's not just latency, packet loss, and jitter, but you might want to be doing API calls, web calls, DNS resolution. So there's lots of different types of tests as well that can give other data. And I think, especially in a migration scenario, this is something that you may want to do before the migration, get some baseline of what the performance is between some kind of app dependency, and see how that changes after the maintenance window when you move over to the cloud, see how that's performing and compare it against what it was when you were in the data center.
Great stuff. Yes, this is useful for all of our customers to help understand what that performance looked like, where they're coming from a staff perspective, from a customer perspective, and then once they get out into the cloud, knowing what that looks like. And then as we move along, there we go, optimizing the services. So you've got the different paths that you can take. A lot of customers, when they first get things up and running, they're going across the public internet, and that has a performance characteristic. And oftentimes, as the backbone of the internet changes, you will see the packet loss, the latency, the jitter, the application response times change. And so you can send that traffic through a VPN and maybe have a little bit more control over that, or through a direct connect, but helping understand which pathway things are going and being able to make optimization, perhaps going with US East 1 or US East 2, which regions are best, and understand what those look like. Jim, you want to help us understand what we're showing here on the screenshot and kind of the cool features that we have available?
Yeah, right. So what you're seeing here is a cloud performance page. So at the top, we've got AWS Direct Connect. So this is the preferred way to connect. It's the most stable. And then below that is the VPN connections. So maybe that's the backup to your direct connects. The direct connect fails, you could fail over to the VPNs. And you're seeing a path. So somebody has clicked on one of the subnets on the left, and then you see the path of how it's going through a direct connect and going to some destination that we're testing to. And you see that the links are green, which means that the performance is good. It has not crossed a threshold that is considered poor performance. And so you can use this to identify issues. We can alert on those conditions if they cross some threshold. And you can see that that your backup, the VPN, is available and performing well. So you've got that backup available if there's a problem on the direct connect.
Awesome stuff. Great that we have an interface, and it doesn't actually take much training. Just walking the customers through is usually all it takes to help our customers understand how to take advantage of this. And then migrating apps. We've got some customers currently planning a data center shutdown over the next, say, I think it's 24 months. But they need to get a footprint. They need to understand which applications are communicating with each other, which applications are communicating with databases, what those dependencies are. They need to gather all that information. And then we've got a customer who's migrated on the other end of the scope, and they found that there's some stragglers left behind. They've got some circuits that are still in use that they didn't think would be in use. They actually migrated all of their apps. They're running out in the cloud. The DevOps SREs are happy with what's showing up there. And now they're looking at their routers back on-prem, but there's still traffic. And they're scratching their head. And so we turned on the flow collection for those routers, and they're starting to identify which IPs are talking to each other. They're classifying the applications. And from that application classification, they're tying those to a particular business unit. And so my experience over the multiple years of shutting down various data centers, migrating into the cloud, there's always something that you forget. There's an application. One time it was, I believe it was global sales tax. The global sales tax team, application belonged to a team, but they forgot they owned it. It just ran quietly. They over provisioned it and they forgot to move it. And so we had to go in and track, hey, where is this communication going to and from? Hey, it's going into the cloud, but it's going back into the data center, and provide that information to a particular team and get it assigned. Someone's got to migrate this traffic migrate this application, migrate the databases. And so grabbing those apps, qualifying those apps. Jim, we have an ability to ingest data automatically and help qualify some of those things.
Yeah, so we can get that data from that data center and from the cloud and watch for anything that's been missed. And having all of the data from both the existing and the new environment gives you confidence to be able to go through that migration, and you should be able to do that quicker with that confidence and with being able to resolve any problems that you weren't expecting. So that can probably get you out of your previous environment quicker, and so you're not paying for two environments for longer than you need to.
Not last, but going towards last, securing your cloud. Actually, this is probably from a developer's perspective as they're building things out in the cloud. They're calling on the networking team saying, hey, is the firewall on-prem blocking this traffic? And knowing where that traffic is. And so knowing where the drops are, in AWS, you can understand whether it's an accepted flow or a denied flow. And so with that, you can start to understand with the visualization going on in the slides we showed a little bit earlier. When you start to dig down, if traffic is getting denied, you can pop that up. You can say, hey, in the provisioning process, did you allow this ACL? Did you allow this network ACL or a host level ACL? And is that application permitted? Maybe the traffic is routed properly, but it's not permitted at the host level, allowing that particular application to flow through. So these are some of the visualizations we can help with. Identifying embargoed countries. If you are a financial organization, perhaps you need to know if any of the embargoed countries are trying to gain access to your services. All of the accepts and denies, any botnets and threats. Jim, what are your thoughts or insights here for secure?
Yeah, so there's a lot of pieces to security. We've been doing this for many years in the existing data center infrastructure, and we've taken that to the cloud for the last couple of years. The screenshot here is a very specific query, and this could be an ad hoc query or it could be something that we add to a dashboard. But this is just denied flows to staging and production. So we can do these ad hoc, or we could build ones that show up in a dashboard, maybe get projected on a wall in a NOC or SOC, and we can build alerts based on these. So if you want to see about that spike in a particular type of traffic, whether it's being blocked or if it's from an embargoed country or it's from botnets or some kind of a threat, we can set thresholds and we can send out alerts to the right team. And so it's a very flexible system.
I love working here at Kentik because we provide so many benefits to our customers when they're looking at this traffic and helping understand what's going on-prem and in the cloud. So as a quick recap, tips for ensuring successful AWS migration: make sure you understand what's going on for all your networks, what's going on in the corporate, in your data center, and then as you're landing that footprint, what that cloud and internet looks like. Being able to handle all of the telemetry, all of the flows, all the SNMP, the routing, understanding your application footprint and its dependencies, whether it's in the data center, taking those and being able to map those out both on-prem, making sure that you've received or have transferred all of that traffic out into the cloud. And that one customer that we had, they still had traffic back across their MPLS network and they were scratching their head. So being able to grab all of that, figuring out what those application footprints for those super small applications, the dependencies, and then assigning that to a team. Understand your pathways, whether you're going across the VPN, a direct connect, or the public internet is always useful. And doing that synthetic performance testing before and after each step, knowing where that's at and visualizing your cloud. So questions that are coming in. Jim, did you have a good view on the questions that were coming in?
Yeah, so somebody was asking about east-west traffic between web tier, app tiers, databases. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the cool thing is we can see that north-south traffic. So from the public internet coming into your facilities, we typically call north-south traffic. And when you're migrating out into AWS, they have those flow logs, and you can see what that public IP is coming into your resources. So the north-south is definitely visible, and you can see volumetrically what that looks like. And if you turn on the synthetics, we can see what that traffic path looks like coming in. So it helps with that north-south. And then we can also see the east-west. So that's going to be your web tier talking to your application tier talking to your database tier. We gather all of those logs. We gather those flows. We can do the synthetic testing for that. So it's a different view, but yes, we can handle both the north-south, kind of your staff and customers coming across the public internet, as well as any of that internal traffic that we typically label east-west. I think I do see a question here. Can we see traffic flowing from account to account? Yes. When AWS generates flow logs, they throw account. That's one of the fields that can be written into the flow log. You can skip it if you do custom flow logs, but by default, it's there. And if you include that in when you're collecting those flow logs, which we recommend, we can show how that traffic is flowing from account to account. And sometimes that's a partner account. So if you're doing business with other businesses, any of that B2B type traffic, you can see what those accounts are. Sometimes that is your account. As your AWS footprint expands, sometimes it's easier to give a development team their own account. And so you can see that traffic going from developer account or application account A talking to application account B. That's embedded in the flow logs, and we can help visualize all of that and show that off.
Yeah, and even in the mapping, we can do a filter saying a particular account or a couple accounts and get rid of all the rest of the map and just focus on what you're interested in.
All right. So I think that's it. That's a recap. We love talking to you guys here on the webinar, and I look forward to doing this again and seeing what type of questions come back from our audience. Have a great day.